I'm so excited and yet I'm so sad. Why didn't we meet before, Jamil? हम पहले क्यों नहीं मिले? Where were you all these years, really?
Waiting to meet you.
Hi, Miri Chan. Thank you so much. And for the first time, in fact, I used to always pride myself in being a very trustworthy and a trusting person. And देखो पहली दफ़ा मैंने किसी की बात पे एतमाद नहीं किया. For the first time, I mistrusted Faiza when she told me that I must meet you. And look, it was my loss. I never realized that I was losing out on an opportunity to meet such a good-looking man.
You're flattering me.
Really. But tell me honestly, Lincoln's Inn, lawyer, S.K. Dehlavi's son, your father, my late husband knew him very well, even when he was the foreign secretary here. And then, of course, he was an ambassador, Pakistan's ambassador. So a diplomat's son who goes to the finest school to study law, how does he get into filmmaking?
Oh, it's a long story. My father wanted me to be a lawyer. So I studied law at Oxford, and then I was called to the bar in London. I actually wanted to be a painter. But he told me that painting isn't a serious profession. It's something you do on weekends. So I put that aside and I looked for something a little more serious, and filmmaking was what really attracted me, because it's a combination of all the arts. So I threw all my degrees out of the window and went to New York, where I studied film at Columbia University. And ever since then I've been making films.
Hi, sweetheart. You just said you're fond of painting. I'm also very fond of painting. Why don't you and I, let's get together and paint the town red, sweetie, together. I hope you're here for a few days. Henna?
I'm here for a week, and I would love to do that with you.
And I'm so glad you threw away all those degrees, sweetie. But trust me, now that I see you, I feel that my temperature has risen by quite a few degrees, really. Infinite justice, a controversial subject. Daniel Pearl must have been very difficult. I mean, you must have faced a lot of hardships. Taking that on as a subject for your film, would you like to elaborate?
Well, first of all, let me just say it's very loosely based on the Daniel Pearl story. It's a sort of a reinvention of that story. The characters have different names, although the story is quite parallel. Difficulties. Well, the difficulties were mainly financial, because I had two financiers who dropped out at the last minute. In fact, I wrote the script of the film in 2002 and started shooting at the end of 2004. So you can see that there's a long gap. I mean, it's the same problem with all independent filmmakers. It's being such an expensive medium, it's not easy to get films off the ground. And finally, the film I shot over a period of a year because I had to shoot it in fits and starts, again for financial reasons, and then finally managed to finish it a few months ago. And here it is at the Kara Film Festival.
How's Jane doing?
Jane is fine.
She didn't accompany you this trip?
She didn't know. She's got...
Are you having marriage problems, sweetie? Huh?
Not having marriage problems, but her mother...
You're just bored. Tell me you're just bored. Tell me now.
No, our relationship is fine. Her mother is not well. That's the reason she couldn't come. Her mother is 90 years old and has lots of health problems, so she has to look after her.
So you're telling me happy with Jane?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. But why, how did you and Jane meet? I mean, how did you guys...
Well, she's a costume designer and she worked mainly in advertising and in the film, also in the film industry. So we met through work and got together.
I like to be straightforward, and I know you from England, and I know that people, I know from whatever I've heard about you from Faiza that you're very straightforward and honest and a blunt person, really. So I hear it straight so that I put this to rest once and for all. Sweetie, do I stand a chance? Come on, tell me. I mean, I know you've broken enough hearts, and I wouldn't want my heart to be broken by you, really.
Of course you do. You know what you know that...
Of course, darling. So how's my baby, Daniel?
Daniel is very well.
I'm sure he'd love to have a Pakistani mother also.
I'm sure you would.
Yes? You should have brought him with you. You should have brought Daniel with you. I would have shown him around.
He's at school. He's in his last year at school in England. And he's not, the break hasn't started yet. He's still, so I couldn't. But next year, when he'll be out of school, I'll bring him to the Kara Film
Please,
Festival.
Jamil,
Ji.
how long has it been since you moved to London or settled there?
1980. 1980.
1980. So it's
That's,
been almost 26 years,
26
really.
years, yeah.
Wow. But you know, it seems because most of your films that I've seen, I see that there's a lot of Pakistani, the way Pakistan centric, there's a lot of Pakistani sort of, you know, it all deals with our society, really, you know. So is your mind and your heart still in Pakistan?
Very much so. I think the only thing that's kept me away is that the kind of films I make don't have a mass audience in Pakistan. So that's why I've made them from the outside.
But you know, people loved Jinnah in Pakistan. You know, I went to, and it was a blockbuster hit, really. You know, but the sad aspect of it all was the kind of controversy that was engineered, really. You know, to sort of, you know. And of course, the whole story about Zeenat, and you know how I had to tell her also. I said, Zeenat, please get off Jamil's case. Really, let this film come out. It's for Pakistan. It's for Pakistanis, really. And I thought it was a brilliant gift that you could give back to Pakistan. But tell me again with Jinnah, what was the cause for all that that happened?
Do you really want to get me onto the subject?
Please, I do. Honestly, I do.
I think the problem was that a lot of people who were involved with Jinnah, or who had the controlling powers, were in it for their own self-glorification and not to make a film that about the founder of the nation. It's a long, long story.
I'm interested, sweetie. We have the whole night.
You have the whole night.
Of course we do. And I like anything that's long. You know, it's never ending. It keeps going on and on. You know how it is. I don't like endings, really. I like beginnings.
Right.
Yes.
All right, I'll tell you the story. I was approached by Akbar Ahmed to make the film. He had raised a certain amount of money from various sources, mainly private financiers. And as the project progressed, I discovered that it was all being done for the wrong reasons, for sort of self-seeking reasons. And then we got into a financial dispute because I was owed money, which still hasn't been paid to me. I think the government of Pakistan was going to put a third of the budget into the film at the last minute. Because of the controversy, they pulled out. So that created a vacuum which had to be filled, which I then had to help fill that vacuum, and so I got into debt, which was then the company never reimbursed.
Which
so
is
that
really sad.
led to a dispute. I think the other problem with the film was that people who were involved thought they were film producers overnight. They had no idea how to distribute a film, a feature film, internationally. So the film was released in Pakistan, and it's had very little exposure outside. And you know, they've lost interest in it. I have no control over it as such, so there's nothing I can do to resurrect it. I mean, that's the story in a nutshell.
I know in a nutshell, but you know what I'm interested in. You said that you were never paid for the film, and until now, who owes you that money? Is it Akbar S. Ahmed? Is it the government of Pakistan?
It's, well, Akbar S. Ahmed's company, which is now, well, I started a case against the company in the high courts in England. I won the case, and the company went into liquidation. But there's another group of people in America, a group of Pakistani Americans who actually promised to pay off this money, but never did. So ultimately, it's their responsibility, but they never came through either.
I know, that's typical American. I swear, you know, everything they promise, they never deliver. You know, I know how it is. But then there was a controversy regarding the casting also. You know, I mean, there were people here who wanted to play Jinnah. And then obviously getting a Gora to play Jinnah, it was, you know, I remember in the news, in especially newspapers really, you know, attacked you and Akbar S. Ahmed and the makers really on this issue also. How do you defend that? You didn't
Well,
find
there's no defense really. It was a choice. I just felt that I would have loved to have cast a Pakistani actor to play Jinnah, but I couldn't find anyone who could act in English and pull it off. I mean, I had actors like James Fox, Mariah Aitken. I mean, very very established and competent actors, and there was no one here that could really live up to that. So after searching, I mean, I even looked in India, see if I could find an actor there, although that I was discouraged from doing that. I then thought of Christopher Lee, who I think looks very much like
he
Jinnah.
does.
I mean, he looks like a sort of a...
But then he's a brilliant actor.
And he's a good actor. So I decided to cast him. Again, everybody said, you can't have Dracula playing the founder of the nation. And then my reaction was, well, he's an actor. One day he plays Dracula, the next day he can play the President of the United States or whatever. So I had to persuade Akbar Ahmed and other people who were involved that he would be the best choice. And they agreed. And I think in retrospect, after people saw the film, they changed their minds. At least I think so.
That's true, it did. And I think you were very successful because I simply loved the film. I loved it, really. And it's sad how people, for their own vested interests, should go out to, and get personal, really, and not realize and think that this is something which was of national importance, really, And you've seen Gandhi, of course.
Yes.
And when you compared Gandhi and when you saw your own work as a filmmaker, were you satisfied?
Well, I don't think one should really compare the two films. First of all, the budgets were totally different. I mean, my budget of my film was like taxi money on Gandhi. So, but despite that, I think my film has the production value. It's a big canvas, and I'm not ashamed of it.
Yes, absolutely. And I remember you did say in an interview that Jinnah was your answer to Gandhi.
No, I didn't say that. I think that was Akbar Ahmed who said that.
Okay.
But I don't think of it in that way. I mean, I wasn't making this film to compete with Gandhi. It's a different film. I was making a film on Jinnah, on the founder of Pakistan.
But now you're going to take up an even more controversial subject, I believe. You're going to be making a film on Zulfikar Ali Bhutto.
No, that's a film that almost got made.
Okay.
In fact, just before I made Jinnah, this Channel 4 was going to finance a film on Bhutto, and in fact we wrote a script and we started casting it, etc. But it fell apart. We didn't actually make it because it became too ambitious a project, and then Channel 4 wasn't. Once we prepared a budget, they weren't prepared to extend themselves that far, and couldn't raise the rest of the monies. So it unraveled.
But sweetie, you should have contacted me. I have lots of money, and now that I've met you, I'm going to be most generous with it, sweetie.
Well,
I know, because you're going to put my money to good use, really. And then, I'm so fond of ZDB. I'd love to. So, how much of it is made?
No, it was never shot. We never started shooting.
Okay.
What we did is we came to Pakistan. I mean, a team of people came to Pakistan. In fact, Nasiruddin Shah was cast. And but it just never went beyond the development stage. No, the cameras didn't roll.
So who would you have cast for Ziaul Haq to play General
We
Zia?
cast Zia Mohyuddin in the part.
For that, okay.
Yeah.
But Zia Mohyuddin has worked with you before also.
Yes.
Immaculate Conception.
Yes.
Again, one of my most favorite films, really.
Incidentally, he is also in Infinite Justice.
Really?
But he has, he's done very kindly did a guest appearance for me in Infinite Justice.